Here on Kuf Dalet Amud Aleph, about I don't know, 15 lines from the top. Um, the first word on the line is Va'ana, and we're on 104A1, the second paragraph, the second column halfway down. B'shatz Petiroso Shal Rabbi, at the time that Rabbi passed away, Zakav Eser Etzba'osav Klape Maila, he straightened out his 10 fingers upwards and said, Amar, he said, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, it is revealed and known in front of you that I toiled very hard with my 10 fingers in the Torah. And I did not benefit even for my little finger. Meaning he was saying he was focused so much on Torah, he didn't even let his little finger, any of his fingers, benefit himself for pleasure. Yehi ratzon l'fanecha shehei shalom b'menucha. May it be the will before you that I will have peace in my rest. Yatsa baskol va'amra. So a baskol came and said, Yavo shalom yanucha mishkavosam. He will come with peace. They will rest on their beds. So that's a pasuk in Yeshaya. And so the baskol mentioned this pasuk saying that he was going to have peace. So then the Gemara says, Al mishkavcha mibayale. How come, if you noticed, I said Yavo Shalom, he will come in peace. Yanuchu, they will rest on their beds. How come it changes from singular to plural? So Al mishkavcha mibayale, it should say that you should sleep on your bed. How come it says in plural? Misayele the Rabbi Bar Gamda. So the fact that the pasuk changes its from singular to plural supports the teaching of Rabbi Chia Bar Gamda. Dam Rabbi Chia Bar Gamda, Dam Rabbi Yossi ben Shaul. B'shah she'atzadik nifter min ha'olam. When a righteous person leaves this world, Omer Malchei Ashar Sifnei Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the ministering angels say in front of the of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam Tzadik Ploni Ba. It says the master of the world, so and so the tzaddik is coming. Omer Lahem, he says to them, Yavo tzadikim v'yetzu likraso. Let righteous ones come out, and they should go out to greet him. V'omrim lo, and then these righteous people who are coming to greet him will say to him, Yavo b'shalom, he will come with peace. Yanuchu al mishkavosam. And then the newly deceased tzaddik and the previously deceived tzaddikim will come back into Gan Eden, whatever it means. And so therefore the Yanuchu al mishkavam is that the ones who had previously died and went out to greet the one, they're coming back in to sleep or to rest on their sleeping places. But it doesn't exactly, there's not, doesn't mean physical, obviously, because up there is no physical, right, no physical body or no physical things. Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar says, "B'shash tzaddik nifter mina olam." When a tzaddik leaves this world, shalosh kitos shamalchei yasharis yotzin likraso. Three groups of ministering angels go out to meet him. Achas omeres lo ba b'shalom. One group says, "Come in peace." V'achas omeres holech nechocho. One says that he who goes in the straight path. V'achas omrim lo. And one group says to him, Yavo shalom v'nuchal mishkavosam, which is this passage we just quoted. He will come in peace. They will rest on their beds. B'shasha rasha nevad mina olam. But when a wicked person, so notice the tzaddik, it says the word niftar. For the rasha, it says nevad. He is lost or destroyed from the world. I wonder if you could say, like we say, afikomen, ein maftirin achar pesach afikomen. So the maftir or the dessert, something that comes after. So the tzaddik has something good coming after the olam haba that he gets. Maybe that's why the word is niftar. But Rasha, who doesn't have that, it doesn't use the word niftar. It's nevad. He's lost or destroyed from the world, maybe. Shalosh kito shemalchei chabala yotzu tzikroso. Three groups of destructive angels come out to meet him. Achas omerslo ein shalom amar Hashem l'rashaim. One of them says, "There is no peace," says Hashem, to the wicked. Vach, which is a pasuk in Yeshaya. V'achas omerslo, and one says, "Lamatzeva yishkav." He will slay down. He will sleep in sadness.
What? Oh,
Sadness.
yeah, yeah.
Atzuv.
Mhm.
That is based on a pasuk in Yeshaya, Perik Nun, v'achas omerslo, and one says, "Redav v'hashkva al arelim." Go down and be laid down with those with sealed hearts. Because an RL is someone who doesn't have a bris milah, but Rishayim are also called Arle Lev, uncircumcised hearts. Okay.
That's good to know.
Okay, Mishnah. Kol's Manchi. So I think this is the last Mishnah in the parak. Yeah, we'll see if we can finish it today. Kol's Manchi. Okay, so Kol's Manchi Savia go Liolam. So we mentioned that when this woman's husband dies, so now she's a widow. She could either stay in her husband's house and they'll have the house for her and support her the way she was supported before, or she can go back to her father's house. So the Mishnah says if she left her husband's house and goes to her father's house, she could collect the ksuva forever. So in the meantime, they have to give her food, but she didn't. If she didn't demand payment of the ksuva, she can until she dies. She has the right to collect it, and possibly even after she dies, her heirs, if she has, could possibly collect it if she has heirs other than the Yorshim, because if her heirs are the Yisomim, then it's already theirs. But if she, let's say, had a kid from a previous marriage and so she has an heir, so potentially they could collect it also. If she stayed in her husband's house, she has 25 years to demand her ksuva, and if she doesn't demand it in 25 years, she forfeits it. Um, Sheyesh b'chaf heishanim sheteyasa tova keneged ksuvasa. Diva Rabbi Meir. Because if she stayed in her husband's house, her late husband's house, in 25 years, she must have done other hachnasas orchim or other stuff from living in the house that she would have used up the amount of the ksuva. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. And I believe the Gemara is going to talk about if this just means the main 100 or 200 ksuva, uh, and not the tosefes, not the extra if the husband added extra to hers. So we mentioned a long time ago, Danny, but in the United States, the practice is we don't add anything in the text of the ksuva. But in Israel, they add a lot in the ksuva, and I think it might even be Moroccans. They like adding numbers with six, I think. So there was a case where someone added like 666,000 shekel, 666.66. And then they got divorced. And so the wife was demanding it. And they said, no, they didn't really mean it. They just put it in for good luck because the sixes are good luck for them. I read that a while ago. I don't know, remember all the details, but here in the United States, we don't add anything to the extra amounts.
Baba Sal, the tzaddik?
Yeah.
He said, no, put very little money.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So we just put in our ksuvas 100 zuz for someone who was married before and 200 for bitula, and we don't add anything else. But see, Marty, one of his sons got married in Israel, and instead of writing Ben Mendel Chaim, they wrote his name Martin or Martin, and they pronounce it Martins. Elliot said they kept reading the ksuva Martin, Ben Martin, Ben Martin, and they probably added something in that also, but we don't remember.
Makes it bustle.
No, but Israel, the bureaucracy is a little silly.
We know.
A lot silly.
I had a similar situation with my passport. I fixed it like a few months ago. Instead of my second name, Jeff Yefim Zareski, they put Yetim instead of Yefim.
Oh, a T instead of an F?
It was okay. Who cares? But when I needed to real ID, you have discrepancy. So I had to replace my passport.
Yeah,
Meshuggahs.
yeah. The rabbis at the Illinois drivers facility are much stricter than the rabbis in Israel.
Okay. Sha'amar Mishum Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So that's what Rabbi Meir said in the name of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. But the Chachamim argue in Rabbi Meir, and they say the opposite. If she stayed in her late husband's house, she could collect her ksuva forever. if she moved out of her husband's house and is living in her father's house, she has 25 years to collect the ksuva. And if she didn't ask for it to be paid within 25 years, she forfeits the ksuva. Mesa, and if she died, Yorsha Maskirin Ksuvasa Adashim V'Chameshanim. So if she died before the 25 years, her heirs now have the right to collect it, and they have until the 25 years are up to demand the ksuva. Okay, Gemara. Amrle Abai Rav Yosef. Abai asked Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef was his Rebbe. Aniya Shabi Yisrael Adashim V'Chameshanim. A very poor person, Jewish person, has 25 years to collect the ksuva. Umarta Bas Baisos, and Marta Bas Baisos, who was from an exceptionally wealthy family in Yerushalayim, that her ksuva, I think, was like a few hundred silver pieces. How much was this? No, she had a very, very large ksuva. Also, only has 25 years. If her family was so rich, why shouldn't she be able to claim it as long as she was alive? So Amarle lefum gam shichna. According to the camel, is the load. So if the reason So the problem is that Rashi says that according to Rabbi Meir, the 25 years when she's in her husband's house is because she does favors to other people and mitzvos with it. So at 25 years it would end up. And Rashi says that according to the Chachamim don't mention that things that she does with it. But according to Rashi here, this answers that for 25 years, a poor woman will do money to use up her ksuva, and Marta Bas Baisos will in 25 years, with her status and level of wealth, will use up the money in 25 years also. So according to this, it would seem that that Abai was only asking according to Rabbi Meir's opinion, which doesn't really make that much sense. We don't pass like Rabbi Meir. So I don't understand what Rashi is saying, but if you just want to say without this idea of within 25 years she's going to spend up the money, then it's not a problem. But Rashi explicitly mentions he mentions this tova. Rabbi Meir tishalish teku. So then the Gemara says, according to Rabbi Meir, that within the 25 years, if she stays in her husband's house, she'll use up all the ksuva. Do we prorate it? Let's say if she lived for 5 years and then demanded the ksuva, has she forfeited 1/5, 20% of her ksuva? So the Gemara says teku. We don't have the answer to that. So if she claims it, can she claim the full amount? Or do we say, however many years it took her to request for the payment of ksuva, does that get reduced percentage-wise from her ksuva? Okay, so Tosfos mentions here, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago. Oh no, it is the Gemara later. So Tosfos points out here is that we have the basic ksuva payment, 100 or 200 zuz, and then there's the tosefes. So Tosfos points out that when the Gemara asked Marta Bat Baisos, who married into a very wealthy family, or she was also a wealthy family, so she had a very big ksuva. Tosfos says this Gemara over here works according to the opinion of Bar Kapara, who says that this Mishnah is only talking about the main ksuva of 100 or 2 ksuva. That would be that after 25 years can't be demanded. But the tosefes, any additional amount that the husband took upon himself to pay, that doesn't get canceled out. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, says even she would even forego her tosefes, the extra amount. That's what this is talking about. But Tosfos himself, so Tosfos mentions we don't know which Baal Tosfos it is. That's what his Rebbe told him. But this Baal Tosfos says it works out even according to everyone, because Toso says it's going only according to Rabbi Meir. And Rabbi Bar Kapara was talking about the Rabbana. So it seems that this would answer the question I asked. According to Rashi, this 25 years of using it up is only according to Rabbi Meir. So how come this question would only be according to Rabbi Meir? So it seems that Rashi would agree with what Tosos is saying here, that this question literally was really only according to Rabbi Meir. Okay, so we'll see the Gemara. We'll see Bar Kapara and Rabbi Yochanan later on. So we're at the two dots about 11 lines up from the bottom. 104A3, the second column, second paragraph. Chachamim omrim kol zman. So Chachamim say as long as she's in her husband's house, she could always demand her ksuva. Amarle Abai Rav Yosef. Abai asked Rav Yosef, said to Rav Yosef, "Asoi kodem shkias achama gova ksuvasa la'achar shkias achama lo gavya." So let's say the 25 years was coming to an end on, let's say, Yud Sivan. So if on Tes Sivan in the afternoon she would request her ksuva, she would get it. We're 104A3. And if she would come 2 hours later at 9 o'clock p.m. on Yud Sivan, she's not going to get anything because the 25 years have now been completed. So Bahi Porta Achilta, so is she foregoing or forfeiting her ksuva just in that short amount of time? So the Gemara says, Amarle in. Rav Yosef says yes. Kol midas chachamim kain he. All the measurements that the chachamim gave worked the same way. Barbaim saw a tovel. Barbaim saw a chaser kortov. Eno yachalit babahen. If you have a mikvah that has the proper amount of water, 40 sa, you go to the mikvah, you become pure. If it's missing just a little bit, you don't become pure. Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav. Hey Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosef Nei Rabbi Sha'amar Mishum Aviv. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav, that Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, testified in front of Rabbi, who said in the name of his father Rabbi Yossi. Now we mentioned on the previous Amud that about the greatness of Rabbi Yossi. This Rabbi Yossi, we mentioned that Lo Shanu Ela She'ein Shtar Kesuvos Yotzei Mitachas Yadeha. When did we say that that there's a 25-year limit? That's if she doesn't have the ksuv anymore, the written shtar. If she still has the ksuva, she could collect it even after 25 years. Rashi says, if she says, here's my ksuva, I want it, it shows that she hasn't forfeited, or she hasn't forgiven it. She wants it to be paid to her. Rabbi Elazar Amar, but Rabbi Elazar said, Afilu Rabbi Elazar holds, no, 25 years she forfeits, even if she sells the star, she should have acted quicker. From the fact that she spent 25 years not demanding it shows that she is forfeited her ksuva. Maser Rav Sheshes asked, Balchov Gova Shalo Bahaskara. A balchov, a creditor, meaning someone says that that Shmiral owes me $100, so he's able to collect even in a case where a long time has passed. So for the balchov, even if he spent 25 years and didn't demand it, and then 25 years later he requests payments, the other side has to pay him back. Hechidami, what's the case? If he doesn't have any star showing that there's a record of the debt, how could he collect anything? So it must be that he has a star. So the fact that I guess Rav Sheshes asked this from a brisa. So from the fact that a brisa says that a balchov collects, so we're trying to make a diuk. The barchov could collect halmana achilta. But if it was a widow, she forfeited her loan by not collecting. So that seems to be like Rabbi Lazar. But so I guess he asked it against Rabbi Yossi, or Rabbi Yehuda Marav, who's in the name of eventually Rabbi Yossi. So who motiv lev huma farkla. He asked the question, but he answered liolam delo nakit shtara. Really, the creditor doesn't have a star. So how could he collect after 25 years? Kishachayev mod, because the other side, the borrower, admits that he does owe it. So therefore, after 25 years, even though it was never demanded for the loan to, he never requested the loan to be paid back from the fact that the borrower didn't deny it, and he says, yeah, I owe, so it could still be collected after 25 years or more. The Amar Rabbi law, Shonin Grusha Hareu Kabal Chov. But Rabbi law says that they taught in a brisa that a divorced woman is like a Baal Chov. So, meaning a divorced woman can always collect even after 25 years. So, it must be just that a widow, if wouldn't collect within 25 years, she would forego. Hechidami, what's the case of the Grusha who was like a creditor that even if she doesn't, if she didn't collect for 25, if she didn't request payment for 25 years, she could still request payment. So what's the case? If she didn't show the ksuva b'may gavya, how can she collect? She has no evidence that it is still owed to her. Elalav the Nikita ksuva. So it must be a case where she does have the ksuva and she's saying, pay me the ksuva. Ugrusha hi from the fact that the Brisa says that a grusha is like a balchov, a divorced woman is like a balchov, we make a diu kalamana achilta. We could say that if a widow didn't collect in 20 request payment in 25 years, she is forfeiting her payment. She forgave the debt. So it seems that a widow cannot claim for the ksuva more than 25 years later. This is against Rabbi Yehuda Marav, said in the name of Rabbi Yossi. So hachanami kishachayev modeh. Here's a case where the husband, or his heirs, it would have to be because the husband's dead, his heirs admits so the case that the grusha doesn't forgo it is because her ex-husband is still alive, and he admits that he never paid the ksuva. So because he says he never paid the ksuva, he's admitting to her right to the ksuva. So there is no ksuva. But if there would be a ksuva, then the teaching of Rabbi Yehuda Marav in the name of Rabbi Yossi would still stand that if she has a ksuva, she could collect forever, even after 25 years. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, Tani Rav Yehuda bar Kaza, b'masnisin debei bar Kaza, Rav Yehuda bar Kaza taught in the Mishnahs of the yeshiva of bar Kaza. So it seems that bar Kaza had some yeshiva where they had a lot of brisas, and Rav Yehuda, I guess his son, taught this following brisa. Tava ksuvasa, if she requested payment of her ksuva within the 25 years, and now we turn to Kuf Dalad Amad Beis, Harehi Kvad Chila. So if any time that she had requested payment, even if the payment never came through, it resets the clock for 25 years. So why didn't it get paid when she requested it? I don't know, but once she requested it, it restarts the clock for 25 years. And if she has the shtar ksuva, the actual document, she could collect request it and collect forever, even more than 25 years. So we see that as long as she has the ksuva, she can request it even after more than 25 years. Shalach Rav Nachman bar Chitzl Rav Nachman bar Yaakov. Rav Nachman bar Chisda asked a question to Rav Nachman bar Yaakov. Yelamdeinu Rabbeinu, our master, teach us, Kishashtar ksuva yotz mitachas yada machlokas, is the machlokas in our Mishnah between between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim when she has the ksuva. So it's a machlokas if 25 years you could collect or she could always collect. Oh, kishain shtar ksuva so yotz mitachas zedeha. Or are they arguing if she doesn't have the shtar ksuva? That do the Chachamim hold that she could still collect forever without a shtar, or do the Chachamim admit she only has 25 years? Valachik divrei mi, and who do we paskin like, the Chachamim or Reb Meir? So Shalach le, he answered, Kishain shtar ksuvasa yotzo mitachas yada machlokas. The machlokas is when she does not have a ksuva. Avol shtar ksuva yotzo mitachas yada gov ksuvasa liolam. But if she has the ksuva she could collect the ksuva forever. And we pass like the chachamim that if she has the ksuva, she can collect it for demand payment forever. Okay, Kiyas Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came to Bavel from Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Shimon bar Pazi, Rabbi Shoban Levi, Mishum bar Kapara. He taught in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, in the name of Rabbi Shoban Levi, in the name of Bar Kapara. Lo shanu ela mana masayim. The fact that the 25 after 25 years you can't collect, that's only talking about the ikr ksuva, the 100 or the 200 zuz. Aval tosefas yeshla. But the extra amount that the husband voluntarily accepted upon himself, she can collect even after 25 years. Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan, but Rabbi said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, afilu tosefas ein la. That after 25 years, she forgoes the whole thing, including the extra, the tosefas. The Amar of Ivo, Amar Rabbi Yanai, because Rabbi Ivo said the name of Rabbi Yanai, Tanai ksuva kiksuva dami. A condition of the ksuva is like the ksuva itself. So an extra amount that someone will write in, that's considered Tanai ksuva, but anything that's in the Tanai ksuva is part of the ksuva itself. So since the ksuva itself can't be collected after 25 years, any Tanai that was put in can also not be accepted after 25 years. Cannot be collected after 25 years. Okay, 104b2. In Marnami, we also learned in a brisa, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Ahuna, Amar Rav, or in the Gemara, it wasn't a brisa, this is from the Amoraim. Rabbi Abbas in the name of Rav Huna, in the name of Rav. Lo shanu elamana masayim, aval tosefes yeshla. So this is not like Rabbi Yochanan. This is opinion is saying if she didn't request payment for the ksuva in 25 years, she loses out. That's for the ikr ksuva. But any extra she does collect. So this is this says the opposite of the previous statement. So we have a machlokas, Bar Kapara, and Rabbi Yochanan, and this statement is like Bar Kapara, that she does not forego. If she didn't request it in 25 years, she doesn't get the 100 or 200, but the Tosefes she does receive. Amrle Rav Abba Rav Huna, Amar Rav Hachi. Rav Abba said to Rav Huna, did Rav really say this? Amarle, he said, Ishtikan kamart, o Ashkian kamart. Are you asking me for me to be quiet because you're not happy with it, or are you offering me a drink? Because Ishtikan is to be from shaket to be quiet, and Ashkin lahashkos is to drink. So do you want to give me a yasher koach that this isn't a typical Litvisha thing, but you said such a good thing, make a l'chaim over it, right? Right. So he's saying, are you upset that I said this in the name of Rav, or are you happy I said in the name of Rav? Amarle ishtikin kamina. I said I don't think Rav said it. So he's arguing. Rav Abba is arguing that Rav said that.
What if the husband doesn't have the money?
So that's something else. So then she would be able to collect anything that would be collectible. And we did see cases before, I think a while ago already, several months ago. Actually, maybe we didn't. So all of his belongings are mortgaged to pay her ksuva. And if he's bankrupt, he's bankrupt. So we saw it on Daf Tzadi Dalet. The mission was on Daf Tzadi Dalet. I think, or Tzadi Gimel.
It doesn't keep the 25 years open.
As well, she would collect it. If she demands it, then the 25-year clock would restart, according to his opinions. Yeah, so we saw in Daf Tzadi Gimel, it was a bit of a strange Gemara, but the question is, if he was married to 3 women and he died, and one wife had a ksuv of 100, and another one had a 200, and another one had 300, but they only have 100, they each get 33, 33, 33. So we learned the Gemara was a very specific case, but we're talking about when the estate doesn't have enough money to pay all the ksuvas, they just pay what they have. So we did see about that. The mother-in-law Rav Chisda, the long one, It seems he was tall. Was the wife of Reb Chia Richa's brother. So this is a little bit strange. I was trying to figure out exactly what this meant. So it seems, we heard of two brothers marrying two sisters. In this case, two brothers married a mother and a daughter. So maybe he and his brother were different in age, so he was married to he was older, so maybe he married the this girl's mother as a later marriage. I mean, this woman's daughter was married to his brother, but then his brother died, and it seems they didn't have kids. So in a case like this, there's definitely no yibum and no chalitza, because there's an avera, you're not allowed to marry a mother and her daughter. So in a case like this, so there would be no yibum, no chalitza at all. Certainly no yibum, but there's no chalitza at all in a case like that. We have to learn. I mean, in Yavamos, you'll see in certain cases where there's a certain blood relationship, how close it is. You don't even do chalitza, but there's a big machlokas beishama beisol about it. So, because Reb Chia Aricha's brother died, I guess without kids, so Reb Chia inherited his brother's estate. So Reb Chia Aricha was married to the daughter. So his brothers. Or maybe he had kids from a different, maybe he had kids from previous, so there was no yibum at all. That would make more sense. No, but if they had kids, then those kids would have inherited the estate. So Vamana b'veisa v'yahavai. So she went. So Reb Chia's mother-in-law, who was also his sister-in-law, after she got divorced, she didn't live in her late husband's house. She went back to her father's house. Vizana esrim b'chamishana b'vein nasha, and he gave her money for the food and stuff for 25 years in her father's house, which is halacha. L'sof amrale, and at the end of the 25 years, she said to him, Havli mizoni, give me my food. Amarla, he said to her, Leis lach mizoni, you don't have any more. It's been 25 years. The ksuva is done. Havli ksuvasa. So she said, so give me my ksuva. If you're not going to give me food anymore, so give me my ksuva. So Amarla, lo mizoni islach lo ksuva islach. You don't get food and you don't get ksuva because 25 years up, you never demanded it, so you don't get the ksuva anymore either. Tavte ledina kamei de Rabbi Bar Shila, so she brought him to a din Torah, and the dayan was Rabbi Bar Shela. Amarle, Rabbi Bar Shela said to Reb Chia Richa, Emali easy, gufa de uvde hechi hava. Tell me what exactly happened. Amarle, so Reb Chia Richa said, Zinsa Zanisa esrim chameshana b'vei nasha. I supported her with food for 25 years in her father's house. B'chaye demar b'chasvai atmoile. And I swear with the life of master that I carried the food on my own shoulders every day. And now it's 25 years, so she doesn't get her ksuva anymore. Amarle, Rabbi Bar Shela said, Taima my Amar Rabbanan kozman shebevesa ba'ila gova ksuvas oliolam. Why the Chachamim say in the Mishnah, when she stays in her late husband's house, she could always collect the ksuva even after 25 years. Damrina mishum kisufa hu de lo tava. We say that it's because of embarrassment she didn't request it. Since they're feeding her and bringing her all this stuff, it's a little bit embarrassing for her to request the ksuva. Because look, they're treating her well, so it didn't feel right for her to collect. It's mishum b'hachanami mishum kisuva hu de lo tava. So here, even though she's not in your late brother's house anymore, but she was embarrassed with you doing all this. She felt she was embarrassed to request her ksuva zil havla. So go pay for her. She was never mochel. She was just too embarrassed to collect. So in this case, we know that the reason is she was too embarrassed. It's not because she was mochel. So you have to pay her. Lo ashkach. Richa did not follow this psak. He didn't pay her. Kasav la adrucha anichse. So when the person who owes money refuses to pay, eventually the Beis Din can write a document allowing them to seize assets from the person who owes them money. So he wrote her a document allowing her to seize assets of Rabbi Aricha. So also like Hamei de Rava.
Even all this happening, even if she remarried
No, if she would, no, she didn't remarry.
during this 25 years.
If she would have remarried, then I don't think she would get the ksuva anymore.
Oh,
But in this case, she didn't remarry because she's lived in her father's house. So that shows she didn't remarry. So he came to Rava saying that he shouldn't have to owe her. Amarle, Kazi Mar Hechidan. So Rabbi Aricha said to Rava, do you see how he paskin against me? But it's against the Mishnah. Amarle Shaper Danach. He said, no, he ruled correctly. Amrale, so then his mother-in-law, who was the claiming the ksuva, said to Rava, Ihachi, if you also agree that he has to pay, let me get, besides for what you owed me, let me also get the derivative income from the time that, because he stopped feeding me, he's not paying my ksuva. Let me get derivative income from since the time that the Chachamim wrote this shtar, because he still hasn't paid me. Amar la, Rava said, Achili adrachtich. Let me see this seizure document that you have. Chazye de lahava kasaba. Rava saw that it was not, the following clause was not written into it. V'ishtamoda de nechasim elu de misna inun. And we know that this property are from the dead person's property. Meaning, even though he inherited his brother, so now become his, the document should have said you're able to seize the property that was your late husband's. And it was missing that line. So then Rava said, Adrachta lav shap amarla, adrachta lav shapar ksiva. This document of seizure, giving you the right to seize his property, is written incorrectly because it makes it sound you could collect from anything that's his. But that's not true. You should only be allowed to collect from your late husband's property, his brother's property. And because it doesn't say this, it's null and void. So Amrullah Tezel Adrachta. So she said, okay, it's wrong. So let's ignore that for a minute. Eshkol miyoma deshlimi yoma achroza ad hashta. Let me take just the derivative property from the day that this was written until now. And I'm not requesting that the right now, the original amount that the seizure document allowed me. At least let me right now get the derivative stuff. So Amar La, Rava said, Hani mili hechad lo ksiv te'usa b'adracha. When you're able to get this derivative, meaning, let's say when I say derivative, so let's say the fields are worth $200, and let's say that in the month since it was written, it had fruit, and it had fruit worth $10, let's say. So she's saying, okay, I'm not requesting the $200 right now, but let me get the $10 right now, because since I have a right to these fields, the fruit or the produce that the field has produced since then belongs to me. So I want $10 right now. So Rava says, when are you able to get those $10 worth of fruits? That's if the seizure document was written correctly. But since it was written incorrectly, you don't even get those payros right now, those derivative income. But when the seizure document has a built-in error, it was written incorrectly, there's no strength to that document at all. You can't collect what it that the amount that it's on there, and you can't even collect the payros that those fields have produced since then. So Amrale, so then she said to Rava, V'ha marhu da amarchruz tosoferhu. But you, Rava, paskin that if you forgot to write a guarantee in a document, that's just a mistake that the scribe forgot to write, but the Dayanim wanted it in there. So when a document is missing the guarantee, we assume we act as if the guarantee was in there because Rava holds that the Dayanim and the parties wanted it in there, and the Sofer made a mistake. So let here say the Sofer made a mistake, and let me collect the field. So Amar le Rava, so Rava said, "Baha lake lememor tosoferhu." In this case, we can't say that it's a tosofer. The Baha filu Rabbi Bar Shila tai meikara, because here Rabbi Bar Shila he made a mistake in his in for what he told us the sofrim. This kind of mistake isn't something that the sofrim would make. This is what Rabbi Bar Shila would have said. So there's nothing I could do about it. So what was the mistake? Who savar hani v'hani didei? Rabbi Bar Shela said, Reb Chia Aricha's brother's property and Reb Chia Aricha's property are the same because Reb Chia Aricha didn't have heirs, so it was inherited by Reb Chia Aricha. So both the brother of Reb Chia and Reb Chia's own property are owned in the same owner. They're owned by the same person right now. Mali mehani lami mahani. So what does it matter if she collects from Reb Chia Aricha's personal fields, or what if he collects from the fields that were originally his brother's? Because right now they're all his. Velohi, but that's not true. Because she's only allowed to collect the fields that were owned by her husband, not by her brother-in-law. Zimnin da azu mishabchaluhu, because sometimes she will go and make those fields better. Udebaila machsafi, and the ones that were really her husband's, they're going to get worse. Va'amar la, and then the brother-in-law who inherited the field says, Shkil didach v'havli didi, take your fields, which are worse, and let me keep my own, which are better. So va'asel apuk elaz al beidina, and because the woman is going to get the fields, which on paper what she owes, but because of the neglect, the brother-in-law didn't keep them up because he knew that they were encumbered to the estate. She's going to talk against the Beis Din for not giving her the good fields. Or Rashi says, they'll talk about the Beis Din that they didn't make sure that that her brother-in-law was keeping both fields nice. Hadron lachanose. We will return to you, Perik Hanose. So now we are in the 13th chapter, and this is the last chapter of Kesuvos.
Where do we go, please?
Turn to page. So now the gray box will be by the last two lines, and in the English side it says 104b5. Okay, Shnei Dainei Gzeres Yerushalayim Admon v'Chanan ben Avishalom. There were two judges who made gzeros, who made decrees in Yerushalayim, Admon and Chanan, the son of Avishalom. Chanan Omer Shnei Dvarim, Admon Omer Shiva. Chanan said two things, Admon said seven. So here's the first case. When it says 2 and 7, things that the Chachamim didn't agree with. A person who went overseas and his wife is claiming mizonos. She said he left. He didn't put anything in place for hold on a second, sorry. And so he didn't leave a mechanism for her to get money while he was gone. They didn't have a joint bank account back in those days. So she goes to Basin. So Basin will take from his property and give her mizonos for what she needs and what she deserves. Chanan Omer Tishava Besovalo Tishava Betchila. So if they hear that he died and now she collects the ksuva, she has to take a shvua at the end when she's going to claim the whole ksuva that she didn't take any of his property. Velo Tishava Betchila, but she doesn't need to take an oath to Beis Din at the beginning when she's asking from the mizonos. We don't assume that she has any of her husband's property at the beginning for mizonos. We only make her take a shavua when she requests the entire ksuva. So now we're on Kuf Hamad Aleph. The sons of the Kohanim Gedolim argued on Hanan and said, Tishava b'tchila uva sof. So when she comes to Basin, it says, my husband went overseas. He didn't leave me money. I need money for food for me and my kids, whatever. So she has to take a shvua that she doesn't have any property of his that she can sell right now to get that money. And if they hear that he died overseas, she has to make another shvua that she doesn't have any before they will write for her that she can get the ksuva payment from his fields. Rabbi Dosa ben Hirkinus Kedivrayim. Rabbi Dosa ben Hirkinus agreed with the sons of the Kohanim Gedolim. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, Yafa Amar Chanan. Chanan said something very good. Lo tishava ela basof. So it's machlokas between Chanan and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai on one hand, and the Bnei Kohanim Gedolim and Rabbi Dosa ben Hirkinus on the other hand, if she needs to take a shvua, even when she's just requesting mizonos. Okay, so or minhu, I'll ask a contradiction from our Mishnah from a different brisa. Shlosha dainei gzelos hay b'Yushalayim. There were 3 judges of gzelos for theft in Yerushalayim. Admon ben Gedai, v'Chanan HaMitzri, v'Chanan Avishalom. Admon the son of Gedai, and Chanan HaMitzri, and Chanan ben Avishalom. So there's 2 contradictions between our Mishnah and that brisa. Kasha Tlasa train. Our Mishnah only mentioned 2. This brisa mentions 3. Kasha Gzeros Agzelos. And also our Mishnah said they were judges who made Gzeros decrees, and this brisa says there were 3 Dayanim who judged Gzelos, cases of theft. So is it Gezera or Gzela? What is it? So Bishlama Tlasa Train Lokasha. So in regard to our Mishnah mentioning 2 Dayanim and the Brisa mentioning 3, it's not a contradiction. Dachashav Lahu Katani. Our Mishnah only mentioned the ones that he felt were very important judges, and only 2 of them were important. The Lochashivi Lo Katane. But the Dayanim who weren't important in his opinion, he didn't mention. El Gzeros Agzelos Kasha. But the question that our Gemara mentions that they were Dayane Gzeros, and the Brisa says Dayane Gzelos, that is a contradiction that we need to figure out an answer to. So the Gemara says, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Shahu goes in Gzeros al Gzelos. They used to decree decrees about thefts. So Rashi means it's talking about knossos, meaning in the case of Gzela, you would have to pay the principal, and depending if you don't have it anymore, you might have to pay double or daled v'hei 4 or 5 times if it was a cow or a sheep. So Kidatanya, as we learned in the Brisa in the 6th chapter of Bava Kama, Kitma Natiya, if an animal knocked over a young bush or tree that you had recently planted, Rabbi Yossi Omer Gozer Gezeres Rabbi Yerushalayim Omer. Rabbi Yossi says the ones who made decrees in Yerushalayim said Natiya Bashnasa Shtei Kasef. If it's a 1-year-old planting, you have to pay 2 silver pieces. And Bashtei Shanim Arba Kasef. And if it's a 2-year-old tree, you have to pay 4 silver coins. So meaning this is a knas, it's not based on the actual value of the tree. and they made a decree about knas. So when it says gzelos, it means they made decrees about having to pay things that didn't have to do with the actual principle, the actual value of the thing that was damaged. Okay, Urminhu, we have another contradiction. Shlosha Dayanim Gzeros Yerushalayim Admon v'Chanan v'Nachum. There's a different brisa that says there were three judges of Gzeros, Admon, Chanan, and Nachum. So the first brisa that we quoted was Admon, Chanan, and Chanan, two different Chanans, Chanan Mitzri, Chanan Avishalom, and this one says that there's one's name was Nachum. So how many Dayanim were there? What were their names? What's going on here? Rapapa says, Man Tana Nachum, who is the Tana who taught that Nachum was one of these judges? Rabbi Nassan he. That was Rabbi Nassan the Tanya, because we learned in the Brisa. Rabbi Nassan Omer, Af Nachum Amadim, he goes Exer Shabbi Shleim Hayu. Nachum from Madai, the Mede, I guess he was from Persia. He also was one of the Dayanim who made Gezeros in Yerushalayim. So he had from Persia, I guess, and came back to Eretz Yisrael to Yerushalayim. But the Chachamim did not agree with Reb Nassan. So that's why our Mishnah, which is not according, the author of our Mishnah is not Rabbi Nassan, so Nachum wasn't quoted this. V'su Leika, were there no other judges in Yerushalayim? V'amar Reb Pinchas, Amar Reb Oshia. Reb Pinchas is the name of Reb Oshia. Shlosh Meos V'Tishim V'Arba Batei Dinim Hay Yerushalayim. There were 394 Batei Din in Yerushalayim. Connected Batei Knesios. There was as many shoals. There were as many study halls, and there was an equal number of schools for the children. The difference between Batei Medrash and Batei Sofrim seems to be that the kids learned Tanakh or Chumash, depending on how much Tanakh they had, and the Batei Midrashos were learning Torah Shabbal Peh. Yeah, so Rashi points out when we say Basin, they were Basin of 23 Dayanim, not just a Basin of 3 Dayanim. The shuls were to daven, the Batei Medrash was for Mishnah and Talmud, and Batei Sofrim were to teach the Tinoko. So that was Chumash. So the Gemara says, Dayanim Tuva Havu. There were many, many Dayanim. So 394 times 23. Like Chiamrina Nagoza Exeris Kamrina, but most of them didn't make decrees. Our Mishnah is only talking about the important ones who made their decrees. So we will leave it here, and then next week, so God willing, we'll continue, and then we'll also redo some of the stuff we did on Shavuos night about the Dayan who took money before he judged the case, and so we will go through that again.